Welcome to the Marketing Mortgages Social for Progress podcast. Now, today I have with me somebody who spins many, many plates. So he runs his company, Make My Mortgages, and he's been doing that for the last 6 years, which he's been a broker for the last 10 years. He day trades the like of gold, oil, and all that kind of, it's like that sexy stuff that we're going to get into a bit of day trading as well. And looks after properties himself, and he's also got a property in Spain as well. So he's here, there, and everywhere. Funny thing is about Ash, I've probably seen him on social for the last 5 years. I've never seen his face because he's got this great like cartoon sketch that's the branding of his company. So it's actually nice to see your face, Ash. Now, Ash started in the mortgage world at 16 years old. So he's in and around mortgages since he was 16, and he's been in and around them for the last 22 years. So he's seen the ups and the downs. He's seen what's gone on in the market, and he was using some terminology before the call started that people that have been in the industry longer than 20 years will probably understand, and we'll get into that as well, Ash. But Ash, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Nice to actually speak to you because we speak a lot in comments and in Instagram messages or LinkedIn messages. You reached out and was like, look, I want to get my name out there. Can we get on the podcast? I was like, most definitely. I mean, I'm intrigued to have a chat with Ash because there's a lot of stuff that he does and a lot of stuff I know that the listeners will really get into and enjoy. So before we get into this, give us a bit of a background as to who you are. Let's take it all the way back to when you were 16 years old. Tell us that story, how you got into it then.
Okay, so obviously my name's Ash Jensen. I'm the director for Make My Mortgage. As you said, I've been in mortgages since I was 16. Basically was looking to take a year out kind of before sixth form and uni and all of that stuff. Went up to London with a very, very rough CV that I made on my computer. Went into a place called Adecco, like an employment agency. And they put me into a company called the Mortgage Operation, TMO. They were one of the biggest packages back in the day. And I started there in products and sales admin. So they had a sourcing system, quite rudimentary compared to some of the 27 techs and stuff today. But I was basically putting on all the products onto the system. So from not knowing anything to having to know the ins and outs of products and stuff like that, it was very, very educational. And also, the pay packet, although it was very low at the time, as a 16-year-old, I was very happy to have some
splashing the cash at the weekends.
I was there for 2-3 years, and then I moved to another company called the Mortgage Times, which I think some people will have heard of if they've been in mortgages for a while. And then I moved from there and started working closely with other brokers. So I'm in Southeast London, and I work with some brokers there. Then I went back up into town because I kind of missed the buzz a little bit, to be honest. And then since then I worked kind of all over, really: West End, Mayfair, the City, Canary Wharf. I also worked at Trigold for 6 years, the sourcing system. Again, doing the similar thing as a product analyst there. So sourcing really is kind of my bag.
Sounds like your background.
Yeah, and the products and details of products and stuff like that is really what I know a lot about, which I think has helped quite a lot in training, new staff and stuff like that. Somebody that used to work with me at Trigold actually works with me now. So nice. It's been quite nice to be able to kind of go on a journey, meet some really good people, and then actually be able to give them the opportunity to come and work with me. So that's really
class. So before we get into the background of Make My Mortgage, can I just say that this is probably the smoothest voice that we've had on this podcast? Like, if anyone agreed, I think like Ash should like sign up with Headspace and start doing like the meditation videos because it's so smooth. It's funny because I've never actually spoken to you in person.
I should do some voiceovers.
yeah, you could do the introduction to the podcast for me instead of this brummy thick accent that I've got. Not a thick accent. I'm just talking about a thick, brummy accent. That's what I'm talking about. So if we now get into the team, so you worked in the product sourcing. Why did you make the decision to go away from the product sourcing and the software side and go, right, I'm going to set up a mortgage brokerage or become a mortgage broker? When did you make that decision?
So I think it's the chronological order of things. So I worked for TMO and Mortgage Times 2001, 2002, up until about 2004, 2005. Then obviously 2008 we had the credit crunch. To be honest, for that time there weren't any jobs in mortgages, so I went and worked abroad in Greece at a bar, which was the best time.
Ah, nice.
Actually really helped me with people skills. There were a lot of
Yeah.
objections. Come into my bar, come into my bar. No, we're going to go down there. Kind of taught me about the long game rather than the short game.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Not being kind of a hard seller, letting people make the decision, and everyone ended up coming back to me anyway. So that was good.
Yeah.
And then when I came back from that I worked in Trigold, and then after that we actually got made redundant. So Trigold got bought by Iris, and they moved from Putney in London to Cheltenham. Obviously, I live in London. That would have been a bit of a commute. So
Yeah.
at that point, it was kind of like, right, I need to do something. I've been working with brokers. I understand, when brokers call us about the sourcing being incorrect or this or asking questions, I understand all of those questions from their point of view. And to be honest with you, I just thought this is probably not the easiest way, but this is probably the most direct way to actually make some money, is to actually finally stop pushing the exams to the side and actually just get them done. So I managed to do those. And then after that, I worked for a couple of companies in London, as I said, West End, Mayfair and Canary Wharf, and kind of just kind of honed the skills a little bit. I had a lot of the product technical knowledge, but I didn't have that much about, criteria that's always constantly changing and stuff like that. So, and actually dealing with the client head on, rather than, a broker dealing with them and them asking me a question,
Like,
and then them
far
going away.
removed.
And then, my last employed role was at Habito. So a lot of people will have heard of
Oh,
Habito.
okay.
So I was actually one of the first 5 brokers at Habito when they started,
Oh, wow.
which I have to admit, that gave me the most knowledge that, in the 2 years that I was there, because the amount of business that we were processing, we were sometimes doing 30, 40 mortgages each a month. So you can imagine.
Oh, so you're an actual advisor there. You weren't part of like the startup. It was
mortgage
right.
experts.
Yeah. Oh, is that what they call them? Yeah.
And sometimes I used to come in on a Monday, and it's all via live chat. So sometimes I used to come in on a Monday, and it used to have 90 people waiting for a response. So it really taught me how to spin a lot of plates, as you said. But also, I had to get down with the criteria and all the different types of scenarios that you could come across because of the volume, which again really helped me when I set up my own business, because I was kind of like, I was aiming for first time buyers, but you deal with whoever you deal with whoever comes through the door, right?
Yes.
And that kind of level of exposure and doing that many mortgages per month really gave me a kickstart. So I have to be thankful for that, to be honest with you. But yeah, short answer was it was just the most direct route to actually making some good money, because there is good money in this industry. I think you need to get certain credentials and stuff before you can do that, regardless of whether you've got 15 years experience. If you don't have CMAP and you can't actually be a broker, then there is a glass ceiling there, unless you want to go BDM route or something like that. But I actually quite like helping people. Very cliche, but as a broker, maybe not so much at the moment, but when first time buyers finally get their house and they're super excited and they're happy and they get their offer and they get their keys, that's a real buzz.
Yeah.
And I really thrive off that. So yeah, that's why
Great insight there. And it's interesting, like working for Habito, you saw the levels of business that could be done. I had a friend who's a mortgage broker who works for a corporate company, and he phoned me up the other day and he was like, I know you work with loads of brokers. Is it as good as they make out it to be when they work on their own, they're self-employed or run their own business? Because this corporate company at the minute is telling us it's rubbish being on your own. You don't get your leads and things. And I was like, mate, they're just feeding you crap, unfortunately. These corporate companies want to keep you working. Not that I'm saying Habito was like that, but these corporate companies try and clip the wings and say to you, don't go and do it. But it's the best thing that you can do, because you can treat your clients your own way and you can run your business how you want. Now, the biggest thing, and this is what I wanted to speak to you about, is lead generation. That's one of the toughest things to do when you go out on your own. So how do you generate leads on a daily, weekly basis, Ash? How do you generate them for your company?
So I don't know if the way that I generate leads can be transitioned to another broker that's maybe just starting out, because obviously where I've been in this industry for over 20 years,
Yeah, yeah.
I've always been the mortgage guy. I usually say to people, I've been in mortgages since before Facebook, and that normally,
Oh, I like that as a
they're normally, oh my god. So you know, you can imagine, being a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 25-year-old. I've always been in the same industry, and therefore everyone's just known me as the mortgage guy. So it's like a bit of a natural transition, really. When I went to do my own thing, you know, everybody just kind of really supported me and have to share
followed you on,
openly.
right? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because but they also know that I know my stuff because I've been doing it so long, and that in itself gave me some kind of intrinsic value, I think. But
Okay, so it was you on your own. If we talk about you on your own as a mortgage broker, and a lot of people listening to this will be a one-person band, and they'll be thinking, right, I can either go down the path of starting hiring people, generate more leads, get another broker, or carry on as I am. For the people that want to grow that team, for the listeners that want to grow their team, at what point do you know it's time to hire somebody new?
when you're working more than 12 hours a day, you need help.
Right, okay. That's at the point.
Yeah, I honestly think that it's a jump, right? So it's a jump to have a staff member, but at the same time, you don't discredit the fact that you made the jump to work for yourself in the first place, and I
Very
think
good
that's
point.
more scary than having a staff member. The one thing about when you do get new staff is that you do need to train them, and that is something that you know, unless you get somebody who's going to help you remotely or someone that's experienced. But obviously, with that, you know, you're going to need to pay them a certain level because they've already gained that experience. Whereas if you get someone from scratch, you know, they can grow with you as a company, and I think there's a bit more loyalty there as well. To be honest with you, if you've spent
Yeah,
all
good
the
point.
time training them. But yeah, I think as soon as you think you need help, get it, because
Get it, yeah.
ultimately it depends on the market, of course. The time when I started, a couple of years after we had COVID, then we had the stamp duty holiday. So it was a real up and down for the first 3-4 years. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing or provide the service that we provide without my team. So yeah, as soon as you think that you need some help, definitely look into that.
And it's kind of a backwards way of thinking, isn't it? That you've got to give up control of that service element to pass it on to John Smith, the admin onto John Smith. But by passing over the admin onto John Smith, you actually increase the service levels that you can offer then because you free yourself up more time, don't you?
Yeah.
And on the subject of time, before we get into the social media section, because I'm really looking forward to chatting to you about that. Time at the minute, very important to somebody like you who's got so many different things going on. Can you talk us through what a normal week looks like for you, Ash? Like what happens on a Monday through Friday? How do you split your diary? How does your week look at the minute?
Right. So I've actually taken a step back from being the main broker. I obviously still will do some mortgages for mainly for people that I know. I have Amy Crow. She just got married. She was Amy Wright. She's now Amy Crow, who is a fantastic broker. I actually met her in Canary Wharf. She was an estate agent.
Oh,
And when all
okay.
the bosses went out, everybody else was messing around and she was still on the phone. So I know that she is a good one. So
Very good member of staff. Yeah.
and she came on with me as an admin and did her exams within 4 months.
Wow.
And she's really doing well. But yeah, I mean, my week is different now compared to maybe if you asked me a year ago. At the moment, it's mostly looking at kind of what work we've got, organising work for the team, and really trying to keep up to date with things like, you know, changes to products, criteria, keeping the guys in the loop with that. And also just reaching out to people like yourself, trying to keep myself present on social media, which from time to time there is a lull, and I know that I need to maybe be more consistent with that. But yeah, just really just kind of being there if the team need. I'm really lucky because I've got to a point now after years where they know what they're doing, and therefore it's just like, I'm here if you need me. Call me, drop me a message on Slack. But if there are no problems, you know, just crack on. So my week is quite fluid. It depends on my diary. It depends on what I've got going on. Depends what's happening on the trading side with the markets and all this other stuff as well. So I've always got my laptop with me. I've got my work phone and my personal phone with me all the time. So anybody can get me at any point. But I think since COVID, there's been a big change in having to be in the office. And I think I'm kind of trying to embrace that as much as possible. As long as I'm still there when anybody needs me, then we're all good.
That's an interesting thing. Do you have an office? Do you have like a high street presence?
No, so everybody actually works from home. So
Oh, okay.
the way that we do it is we use Slack,
Hmm.
and we have like a virtual office. So what happens is everybody will the first person to log on that day will open up the office, and then everybody else will jump in. So we still have the connected. You can just ask someone a question. We still have all of that, but most people that work for me, or everyone that works for me, has kids. So that's another
Hmm.
thing. I really wanted to be flexible. So if somebody needs to do a school run or this, or their kid's not well, whatever, we can work around it as a team. And
Hmm.
so yeah, we all just work kind of seamlessly through Slack, which is brilliant because it's 40 quid a month instead of hundreds. So for an
100.
office,
And for anybody listening doesn't know Slack, because Slack is used a lot in marketing agencies, but it's quite rare. I've not heard a mortgage broker talk about it. And so Slack is like MSN Messenger, isn't it? Like the old days of MSN Messenger, where you can have loads of different chats. And you'll have a group chat with all of the team in there, and they can just fire like WhatsApp, essentially WhatsApp groups as well, isn't it?
yeah, so we have where I've built it out. I've built all our systems from scratch. So I'm a bit of everybody who knows me knows that I'm a bit of a self proclaimed nerd. So
Okay,
I
yeah.
love things on the computer. I've built all our forms. I've built all our automation, everything from scratch, which is great because I know how it all works. Which means if something needs tweaking, I can tweak it. But on
Hmm.
Slack, we have a really, really extensive channel list. Everybody moans at me we have too many channels. And it's, we have an office, which is the main room. Then we have
Hmm.
announcements. Then I have a feedback channel for every one of my team members. I have a work queue for them all in there for like the little quick things, um, insurance, loads of different channels. And so everything has its place. And when people log on, they can see if something's coming over the weekend. I try now to schedule the posts for 9 a.m. on a Monday, for example. So I'm not interrupting everybody's weekends whilst I'm doing
Yeah,
bits
yeah.
at 2 in the morning. But yeah, it works really well. And my whole business is based on WhatsApp. We don't really do any email. So we just have WhatsApp groups for everybody.
For
And
clients.
yeah, for clients. And it's pretty seamless, to be honest with you. A lot of people are very, very happy. I think the days of people wanting to come, and this might not be for everybody, but just from my perspective, the days of people wanting to come and sit with you for 2 hours, I think they're
Have
gone.
gone.
Most people
Mm.
can do things online. If people want to have a team or a Zoom, we'll do that as well. But yeah, people say, "Oh, can I see you face to face?" And I'm happy
I
to
think.
do it, but I also, being honest, don't think it's the best use of everybody's time because we
Hmm.
have a system where we can get the core information from the beginning, have a chat, go through all the regulatory stuff, and then really after that we can do everything by Slack. And it also safeguards us because we have the whole journey from start to finish on WhatsApp.
Documented.
Yeah, and what we do is when we've been paid for a case, Mel, who's one of our administrators, she will save each chat and put it in the client folder. So if they ever
Oh,
come back to us
interesting.
for a remortgage, I have a full chat from last time, just in case they left the group or I lose my phone or something
Yeah.
like that. So it also means, regulatory standpoint, we're good so far. Fingers crossed. We keep being
Yeah.
good. If anything ever comes up, it's all in the chat. There's been a few occasions where somebody said, "Oh, you didn't say this," and I'm scroll up, reply to that message, and say it's just here, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
It's exactly why solicitors do everything over email, isn't it, and
Yeah,
not over the phone. And I think we could probably do a separate episode for people that I'll tell you what, if anybody wants to hear about how Ash set up the automations, does the WhatsApp, does the Slack and everything, send me a message on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it might be. Send me an email, chris@socialforbrokers.com, and let me know if you would like to hear how Ash has set that all up, because I'm sure Ash would be more than happy to come back on and talk about the technical bits. Because I've still got a lot to talk about here, so we can get into that, I think, in another episode. But let me know if you'd be interested in hearing that. Now, before we get on to the social media section, quick reminder for anybody that does want to learn more about social media, we have our weekly email come out to you guys every Wednesday. We've got hundreds of brokers on it already, and every week we deliver social media tips, strategies and hacks straight to your inbox that you can implement straight away. If you do want to sign up to it, go to socialforbrokers.com/blog, get signed up, and you'll have one every Wednesday. Now, let's get into social media for Make My Mortgage. So, Ash, tell me, what's your best platform at the minute for business, which one would you say?
Instagram, hands down, hands down.
Instagram.
Yeah, for me, I don't have TikTok. I don't know if I'm too old, but I don't have TikTok. Amy uses TikTok and she puts some bits on there. For me, it's always Instagram. I do have I've had my original Facebook since it started, so I have
Yep.
quite a few people on there, and I do put stuff on there. But I feel like Instagram always gets a much better response. And again, I don't know about the algorithms and stuff, but I think I cast a wider net on Instagram.
Yeah. It's probably because you've gone a mile deep and an inch wide. You've not kind of
Yeah,
gone, I want to try them all and dip in here, there, and everywhere. It'd be
yeah.
great to have an appearance on them all so everybody knows who you are. But you've said, like, I've gone in on Instagram and it sounds like it's working for you. With your content on Instagram, do you outsource it or do you do it yourself?
I do it all myself.
Nice.
I can't draw, but I actually quite enjoy doing stuff on Canva. I didn't realize that I don't know if I'm any good at it, but I think I'm half decent. And I actually
Great stuff.
quite enjoy it, watching YouTube tutorials about how to make things pop and stuff, you know. But yeah, Instagram for me definitely is definitely
Instagram and
yeah.
okay, so when it comes to your social media content, so you'll create it, how do you find out what to talk about on social media? And are there any specific posts that you find land better with clients than other type of posts?
I think it depends on the state of the economy. Will dictate
Okay.
what I will post. So, for example, when there was a stamp duty cut, I was doing a lot of purchase information. You know, first time buyers, what documents you need. You know, the process, covering all that kind of stuff. Over the last probably year, I've been just covering rates a lot because obviously that's
Hmm.
been the flavour of the month, year, whatever you want to call it.
For the year, yeah.
Because they've been going up, people want to lock in a deal. They've been going down. People want to review what you've already got them. And I think, well, obviously, we'll get into the market in a bit, but I think people just want to see something that not every as brokers, we only have a certain amount of information that we can talk about, right? Because we're all kind
Hmm.
of delving into the same pool. But I just want to try and be original.
Hmm.
I think I've become a bit Instagram famous for my head popping up from the side, or which
Yeah.
has been my thing. But yeah, I just try and make something on Canva and then talk about it. I don't try and go too text heavy because I also think it's a bit boring. If somebody has to read it all, you're probably going to read two
Hmm.
lines or look for the juicy bit and then scroll. So I try and talk about it, show some personality as well, which I think is helping.
Definitely. And going back to that, say not to have all of this text, especially on an image. This is where I see your posts and recognize the brand purely from the colors. Now, you obviously think it's very important, but why do you do that? Why do you have a consistent color theme all throughout your posts?
So I've always done that because I wanted people to, as you said, see the colours and link that to us.
Hmm.
I'm actually quite lucky because my brothers own a digital marketing agency and branding
Oh, awesome.
agency, so they helped me with kind of my logo. When I started out, I kind of went on some website and kind of drew a house and a squiggle, and that was my logo for a bit. And now when I look at it, I can actually see the journey. You know, the logo looks much
Hmm.
better than it did. And I'm happy that that I got Jensen and Jensen, cheeky plug, marketing agency
There we go.
to come and help us. But yeah, I mean, I think consistency is key. And actually, I went
Hmm.
to a Primus event. I think it was at the Belfry last year, November or October. And one of the things that Sam, obviously, who you know, was going on is about consistency. I also met Jamie from Demora,
Yep.
and he was talking to me about some stuff, and he was like, "You want to do this," and I was not like, "Oh, I've done all that," but I was like, "Good, I'm ticking these boxes that you're telling me, and I'm already doing that. So now I just need to kind of
Yep.
improve on that and kind of try to next level it." Again, with the social media, if I got somebody else to do it, it would definitely be more consistent. But I also think I would lose a bit of the personal touch. I am guilty, and I think a lot of people are guilty of blasting loads of social media content on one day, and then there's nothing for a week. And I
Yeah.
need to get a bit better at managing, maybe looking into some schedulers and stuff like that. So actually, it's more consistent. But if I think it's important for people to know it, I'll put it on there. I don't really want to put out too much fluff. what I want to do is I want to put out things that are valuable, educational, and personable as well.
Like you say, there's only so much that you can talk about in social media, isn't there? In the mortgage world, so it's making those posts relatable to people and making sure that you're talking about things that, like for example, the £5,000 deposit product that was out. That's something that's big that needs to be talked about, and then you can follow that up with tips for first-time buyers. If you're a first-time buyer, you save your deposit. Look at the government scheme. Do not look at your license. Those type of things. So there's lots of different ideas for social media now. If somebody was starting out on social media today, what would you say one of your top tips would be if they're just starting out from today?
Get on Canva.
Yeah.
Get on Canva. What I would say is, I think what I say, and I've always said, is if you're just starting out, don't be drawn into paying for premium subscription this and premium subscription that. You want to try and max all the free tools and utilities that are out there, because actually there are so many of them. And if you don't know how to use it, there's always YouTube. You don't even have to read anymore. You can watch a video. It's crazy. So definitely get on Canva, have a play around. Don't just take the first image that comes up and use that, because how many other people have just done that? Have a hunt around, look for something that matches your persona and your brand. And then, just change the colors. And I think that's one of the best free tools that's out there, if I'm being honest with you. For
Massively.
Yeah.
And if anybody you haven't used Canva before, jump over to my Instagram, Social for Brokers. We're giving away loads of Canva tips on how to make faceless reels, how to make a happy birthday post, how to recolor everything like Ash had spoken about there. Loads of tips on there. Canva is, if there was one tool I would say for mortgage brokers to sign up to, Canva. And then even if you want to use the pro version, Ash is right, use all the free ones as much as you can. But then when it comes to it, invest the 12 quid a month. I think that's the best 12 quid. Not massively, no. But Canva's definitely number one. Okay, perfect. Before we get into the strategy question then, which I know a lot of people love listening on this episode, we donate £10 to a charity of your choice as a thank you for coming on. Ash, which charity would you like us to make the donation to?
My charity is the British Deaf Association. My mum's deaf, and so that's something that's quite close to my heart. So that one, please.
Perfect. We will. And have you learnt sign language? Have you? Or did you grow up in a household with sign language?
Yeah. So I'm pretty much fluent at sign language. I liken it to the fact if my mum was from Spain or something, I'd probably speak Spanish, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember learning it. I just know it. I could probably get a bit better.
Okay.
I do want to do my official level 1, 2, and 3 because there are some things. I spoke to a deaf person actually the other day, and she said the sign is good, but it's a bit like home sign. And I was like, okay, I know exactly what you mean. Some of the stuff isn't exactly the right thing, but
Yeah.
So
it's how you'd speak to your mum almost than speak to somebody in an appointment. Yeah.
That's it. So she took great joy in correcting me on a few things. But I've always been able to do that, and that's something that I'm very, very thankful for. To be honest with you, it's been able to enable me to help other people in certain situations when they wouldn't have had any help.
Yeah, hugely.
Or something you can see, someone's having a problem communicating, you can kind of jump in and help. So it's really good skill.
Very good skill. Very good skill. Right, so we're now going to pretend that you've moved to the north of Scotland. You've got a laptop, a mobile phone, and an internet connection. What would you do to start generating new mortgage business, Ash?
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and to be honest with you, I think pre-COVID the answer might be slightly different, but I do think since COVID, a lot of people are a lot more receptive to location not being so much of an issue. And what I mean is the knowledge that I have and the skills that I have and the advice that I can give is in here, right? So as long as I have this laptop with me and an internet connection, we're pretty much good to go. I'm assuming this would be from scratch without any existing clients.
Yeah, no back book, nothing. You're not getting any help. It's just we'll pay for your Virgin Media for a month with your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely start on Facebook. That's where I would start.
Okay.
Looking at local Facebook groups, seeing the engagement that some people are getting from them. When I moved to where I live now, I opened up No, I didn't open up. There was a group and I basically just went in there and kind of was like, I do mortgages. I'm happy to be the local mortgage broker. and I offered free services for people who lived in my estate. And since then, that's been a
Okay.
really, really good source of leads since I started, pretty much 5 years
Wow.
plus. So that's what I would do. I think the groups are amazing because you can put things on Facebook. Again, I'm not a Facebook marketing expert, but I feel that you can put some things on Facebook or pay for posts, and I don't necessarily think you get the engagement you get from groups.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to also be quite tactile on how you do that. So what I mean by that is you can't just join a group and say yes, join, and then go bang and put everything out there. I feel like you need to build a little bit of engagement, go back and
Mm-hmm.
forth a little bit, because you need to build that connection with other people. You need to offer value as well as
Yeah.
trying to. So yeah, I would definitely start on Facebook groups, and
I love that.
just go around
There's
and
a lady called Abby who was on our podcast Nest Financial Services, and she said the same as you. Facebook groups, but you can't go in. She says liken it to a dance floor. You've got everyone around the edge of the dance floor.
Yeah.
It takes a lot, and people are probably going to tell you to do one if you go around and ask everyone to dance. Whereas if you go into the middle and start dancing,
Yeah.
people are going to start being drawn towards you. And it's exactly the same as what you just said there. If you go in and bang, 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 get a mortgage from me, get a mortgage from me, get a mortgage from me. Or if you go in with, hi, I'm Ash, I help with X, Y, and Z. This is the latest news in the mortgage world. And do that with your sultry voice as well. Do you know what I mean? Get that smooth voice in the face. But exactly as you said there, it's much better to lead with value than it is to ask for the business, isn't it?
Yeah, and I also think, kind of going back to what I said about when I worked in Greece, as a
Yeah.
PR, trying to get people in the bar. The first time that I did it, I was trying to drag them in. Come in, come in, come in. Nobody wants to be forced to do anything, right? So after a while, I kind of learned. They were like, "Oh, well, we just got here. We're going to walk down to that bar." I say, "You know what? Go for it, because you're going to remember that I'm the guy that said you go, and everyone
Yeah.
else is trying to drag you, right? So you got to try and make yourself stand out, but not stand out for a bad reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
100%. I love that. Like
long
Facebook. Yeah, Longo. And it's very much like Gary Vee. If anybody follows him on social media, he uses the analogy of jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah.
So your jab, jab, jab is loads of value. Give them as much value as possible.
Go
And
for
then
it.
right hook, ask for the business. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But you can't do that without jabbing for 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, and then ask for a bit of business.
Yeah, I think
It's the right way around to
a
do
lot
it.
of people. There's obviously a lot of pressure when you start your own business, right, as a broker, because we all know that as brokers, you don't necessarily make money straight away, especially if you're not doing protection, for example. That will bring money in quicker, of course.
Yeah.
But most, cases, even if it's a remo, it might be 3 months until you get paid something, right? It could be longer. A purchase could take a year. Something could fall through. You don't know. So, you have to not, it's very easy to say that now I've got a business that runs, but you have to try and take the emotion out of it and just try and be very objective and pragmatic and say, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick to it. And we're going to see what happens. Otherwise, I think people can smell desperation. I hate that word.
Yeah.
It has a negative connotation, but I think people can smell when you're desperate, and then they don't really want to deal with it. They want someone that kind of sits back, knows what they're doing, offers the value, but doesn't try and force anything down their throat,
As you said, like in the bars, just come in. Sorry, just go away. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Come back when you're ready, and that's exactly what you do with your content.
Yeah.
Well, Ash, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate. There's a lot of stuff we didn't get into there,
Right.
but in that half an hour, we have covered absolutely loads. Where's the best place for people to connect with you if they did want to reach out and have a chat?
So Instagram, Make My Mortgage Limited, LTD, or on LinkedIn, Ash Jensen, or under Make My Mortgage, either of those two. On our Instagram, we actually have a link tree in the bio, and that has a link to all our trust pilots and socials and booking system, and you can WhatsApp me directly and everything. So yeah, all in one place.
Fantastic. Ash, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you, mate. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.